Hey, Bruce, unmute yourself.
Just talking away, right? Good afternoon, and evening, everyone. Really excited to have everyone here for our Tech Tuesday event. Chidma and myself are going to be your hosts for this wonderful event. We also have, some wonderful panelists that are going to actually be joining us here momentarily. We'll give it about another minute, get everybody joined in, and we'll get started.
Good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. Um, Drop it in the comments. I know we're streaming in various platforms, whether it be on LinkedIn or YouTube. So drop into the comments where you are tuning in from.
All right. Looks like we're about 3 minutes after, so we'll go ahead and get started here with our conversation. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for our Tech Tuesday. We're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Bruce Wilson. I am the Chief Operations Officer here at Lincoln Power.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chidima Coleman. I am the Scrum Master within Lincoln Power's Accelerator program.
And so we're just excited to kind of get here and just talk a little bit about, the current state of the environment. I know, there's definitely been some, troubling times going on. So we just want to kind of, make sure that we're aware of that and really just kind of give you some updates as it relates to Lincoln Power, Agile and Brunch. And then we want to spend today really just talking about how to navigate that transition and the current environment. So without further ado, I don't, I want to go ahead and, address the elephant in the room. If you have been on our website, you've probably seen Agile Brunch. So we have made the tough decision, unfortunately, to postpone this year's Agile Brunch. Just keep in mind, it's not a cancellation. It's just a postponement, just based off of the current environment of things, with people experiencing layoffs. We want to make sure that we're mindful of that and then making sure we're taking that into account and then giving you the opportunity, at a later date, once things get better to, experience all that Agile Brunch has to offer. So just want to make sure we share that. Just know it is not a cancellation. It's simply a postponement. And it just goes to what we do as Agilists. We have to be agile and adjust to the current environments. And this is us being agile and adjusting to that.
Absolutely. Agile in motion.
And so, but we did get, our wonderful panelists. So we had, we were able to, we spoke with our panelists that were going to be on our Agile Brunch for this year. And really, we still wanted to have the Tech Tuesday because, you know, as we look through kind of the environment and the market conditions now, everybody that's kind of that we have that will be a panelist for Agile and Brunch, they have an experience and they all have something they can, share and insights to even navigating this current environment right now and helping us out with that. So this is another way that we're being agile and taking, the approach of how do we address, the current market conditions, and how do we help you get ahead. But before we do that, I do want to take a moment just to kind of go over Lincoln Power. So as you know, Lincoln Power, Agile and Brunch is, is put on by Lincoln Power. So Lincoln Power is who powers Agile and Brunch. Agile and Brunch is simply just one of the one of the products that we offer here. Just want to reiterate our three pillars here from a Lincoln Power perspective: community, innovation, and growth. When we think about Lincoln Power building, Lincoln a community, building a supportive and global ecosystem. So that's something that, we've been working on here, with Lincoln Power is continuing to build that community. We have our Slack community, working with our partners, working with, just the Agile Brunch panel speakers. So that's all about us helping build that community and, having you as part of that. Innovation, driving forward thinking and solutions. So we're always looking for ways that we can innovate, that we can adapt. And so this is one of those ways. Tech Tuesday gives us a good pivot to drive that. It helps people, give us an opportunity for people to look at ways that they can be creative and help, pivot that may even help them as they're looking through their job search. And then growth, empowering sustainable development. So when we think about growth, is everything that we're doing here at Lincoln Power, we want it to be something that you can also, not only your personal growth, but how do we help businesses grow? How are we able to, help companies grow strategically? So it's all about growth and then being able to sustain that development. So that's kind of a little bit more about what Lincoln Power does and our pillars. And these can also be found on our website if you're, wanting to learn more about Lincoln Power at lincolnpower.com. And I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful co-host, Shidla.
Well, hello, everyone. Good evening. It's really a pleasure to be a part of something powerful, something impactful. And like to Bruce's point, as we talked about, agile in motion, but more importantly, to focus on pivoting with purpose. And so, for us, we always want to make sure that we are not only walking our purpose, being impactful, but then also giving the community greatness, right? So we have a plethora of Agilists on here, and we're just going to really open up and have a really great, transparent conversation on, like he said, the state of, the climate of what's going on. So let me, as we have some of the speakers coming up.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello.
Hey, what's happening, folks?
So I would love to first introduce each and every one of you. Just give an introduction about yourselves. You all are so, as people have said, looking at the beautiful melanin faces, right? So we'll start off with you. I see the Abdi's on my right over here. So Mr. Abdi Muhammad.
Hey, good evening, friends. Pleasure to meet you all. My name is Abdi Muhammad. I'm a cloud and cybersecurity practitioner, and I'm a part-time Agile enthusiast as well. So pleasure to meet you all, and looking forward to learning from one another and helping one another, most importantly.
Awesome. Thank you. And Ms. Camille Smith.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Camille Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of STEM Social, a global third space for Black STEM professionals. And I'm also a senior upstream process development scientist and also an Agile enthusiast. So very excited to be chatting with y'all and also being able to have this conversation.
Thank you. Mr. Dwayne Hill, who I have to put out there, he's our Impact Award honoree, can't leave that out. Very interesting story with him as well. So Mr. Hill.
What's up? What's up, everybody? I'm Dwayne Hill. I'm out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and I am the founder of Scrum Buddies Coaching, where we help people bring as much value as possible when they get their foot in that door for their first opportunity. And I'm glad to be here and see everybody.
Thank you. And last but definitely not least, we have Mr. Aaron Ball, another guest, the speaker, also host.
Hey, what's happening, folks? Aaron Ball. I am the CEO and founder of Scrum Billionaires. It's definitely a pleasure to meet everybody, to see everybody doing amazing things in the space. So that's one piece, but I also work in corporate for a company right now called Holman as a Scrum Master. And, I love helping Black and brown people break into the space. So let's get it.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, really to start off the question, I think that viewers and listeners want to know first and foremost, how did you even get into this space? Everyone has a unique journey. Some people didn't even start in the agile space possibly, but for you all, can you just share a bit of your journey of how this all started for you? So anyone can go.
Cool. I'll jump in. So interestingly enough, like I've recently transitioned to being in the Scrum space about 5 years ago, like with the official title as Scrum Master, with Agile Coach. But before that, I feel like I've been a Scrum Master, just like in different industries. So I went to school for like communications and stuff, and so a lot of like in front of the camera, behind the camera type of things. And I worked as a producer on like film sets. So if you know anything about film, the producer is basically working with pretty much all the departments, from camera, lighting, sounds, talent, you name it. So as a Scrum Master, you work very cross-functionally with different teams and departments. So it's pretty much like the same thing, just just being in tech, so to speak, in different lingo. And how I always try to encourage people is like a lot of people are like, I've never been a Scrum Master before, but 9 times out of 10 you probably have. But I think it's important to just take heed to how you're framing things, and how you kind of see yourself, because you very much may have transferable skills. So I just named one example, just working in film, but I also used to work in education. And teachers are master facilitators, right? Your students, students, staff, creating lesson plans, having to coach, motivate people. That those are very transferable skills into this space. So, and I know Dwayne also has experience in education as well, and I'm sure he'll probably touch on that as well. So.
Interesting story. Love it. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, Dwayne, he put you on the spot. So,
Hey,
I
said this man is in my brain. It's crazy. But no, kind of same thing. Like Aaron was saying, I have an education background, and I was doing coaching as well. And you realize, and this probably goes across the board, they don't pay educators nearly enough to be able to eat and sleep peacefully. So you have to do something to kind of maximize on those skills that you use day in and day out. And for me, I did a lot of research, and I have a computer science degree. So I was like, let me try to do something with something and not just sit in the classroom. Also, COVID helped a lot. COVID teaching kind of helped me take that leap as well. But I was just a blind optimist and just started putting myself out there. And luckily I got into contact with a recruiter that told me that my experience was enough as a teacher to get me into the door. I didn't believe her, but I was just like, I have nothing else to go off of. So I just kept applying, and I end up actually now kind of same thing as you, Aaron, about 5 years ago, worked for some pretty cool companies, one of which being Scrum Alliance. So that was really, really awesome. And then, now I'm back in and giving back to the community and trying to help other people be able to do the same thing. And it's definitely possible from any background. You just have to be able to word it correctly.
Wow. Awesome. We only got halfway through, so it's just keep getting amazing. I mean, we're 2 for 4. Right. All right, go ahead. Camille?
Sure. So my background is not, I'll say, as traditional, if you will. I kind of fell into Agile. So again, I work as a senior upstream process development scientist, and that's in the pharma industry, for those that don't know. So a lot of my work had to do with working cross-functionally, as Aaron mentioned before, during his story. It actually wasn't until my manager kind of referenced, hey, I think this would be something that you should consider and like look into. So I was actually able to take a course through my company, and now actually sit in a role, I'll say attached to my current role, to be, the agile enthusiast or the scrum master in this case, to make sure that everything related to our asset, making it to the shelves, happens. So it's been really, really exciting. Again, you can be a scrum master in absolutely any industry, which I think is really exciting and very cool. And I've been able to, apply that in the pharma industry.
Nice, nice. Love it. First of all, thank you for repping. You're the only queen on here. So thank you for that.
Hey,
Happy New Year.
We're next to all these queens, but thank you, for that's an interesting story as well. Very nice. And last but definitely not least, Miss Adia Mohammed.
Yeah, so for me, I started off as an engineer. I'm still an engineer today. And when it comes to Scrum and Agile, I never had a title of, Scrum Master or Agile Coach, but the philosophy and the culture of Agile and Scrum is something that's been deeply embedded into my daily work. The idea of constantly iterating, the idea of creating a plan and being adaptable, the idea of pivoting, these things, these themes, is what kind of got me into this space, because that's what my company uses. The company I work for, they use Agile, they use, Jira, and then they use, Agile ceremonies, daily stand-ups, and retrospectives, where you constructively criticize each other without throwing stones at each other, right? And yeah, I enjoy it a lot, because it reminds us that whenever you're building a product, you're building a service, you're building anything, you have to have a plan, and every minute you invest in planning and reinventing that plan and adjusting that plan, that saves you a lot of time. That saves you a lot of time on the down the line. So yeah, shout out to those of us who are agile and Scrum practitioners.
Wow, wow. Well, I'm gonna pass it off to Bruce, and I know I've been asking questions, and I'm like, wow, we have potential Michael B. Jordan on here, right? Like hearing someone coming from the acting, producing background, and I mean, we just have so many individuals. Like, to me, honestly, I know. First of all, the people who are tuning in, this is the first time that I believe we all got together and really shared our, journey. And so for me, I definitely tip my hat to each and every one of you. I as well had started out in a background within education as well, and pretty much pivoted into program management. So this is great stuff, and it shows that you all have some very unique, transferable, and obviously well needed skill sets and experiences. So yeah, Bruce, go ahead.
No, absolutely. I'm gonna make a little pivot a little bit here. Because I know we talked about we had to make the transition and be agile and postpone agile at brunch. So, and a
Mhm.
lot of that being just due to the current market conditions with job seekers or whatnot. So, I know we have audience members that probably out there, they're looking for work and whatnot. So, what is probably one or two tips that you could share with them to kind of help motivate them to keep going on their job search journey?
I'll jump in there first. The main thing, and something that I had to learn for myself as well, because the job market is very discouraging. It can be very, I mean, so to say, disrespectful sometimes too, with a lot of different jobs that you don't get called back for. But one of the things I've been kind of harping for myself as well is the moment that you stop is the moment that all those things are for sure not going to happen. Because it sucks. You want to take some time to yourself and you want to sit and you want to, kind of lick your wounds a little bit, but you cannot allow the market to stop you from getting what you need to get and getting what you want to get. And the moment that you stop is the moment that you'll look on LinkedIn and see some of your friends getting picked up at a job, or the moment you'll see someone else getting picked up. And I'm so happy to say that I've been, those posts that you see, but that's because you stop. And you just got to keep going no matter what the market does. If you don't have a job and you're trying to get there, stopping is the last thing that you need to do.
It's a good
I think we
one.
need to let that seep in real quick. The moment that you stop, that's the
Yeah,
moment those things don't happen.
Yeah.
Love that.
it's a good one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to add on to that, I would say, definitely surround yourself with a vibrant community of people who are either in that community can be, hey, they're going down the same path as me, but I think even more so is just people that fuel your fire and not dim it. Right? It doesn't even have to be like, hey, professional sense, we're killing it over here. I think it's just more so just positivity and people that can help you and encourage you to keep going, even if you don't have the faith in yourself some days. Right. So I think that's equally as important. I have a few friends that it's my one close friend, like he was looking for a job, like he was at a startup, killing it. He was employee of the month. Right. But the nature of startups sometimes, like, they're startups, right? They have to just start laying people off. It wasn't because of him. It was just the nature of the business. And he was out of work for like 6+ months. But he and I, like, we're super tight. And it's just like, he's interviewing, he's getting rejected, he's getting the last rounds and stuff like that. But it's like, hey, how can we hold each other down despite what is happening currently? So I think that's really important, just as you guys kind of, go after new opportunities and stuff like that. So for sure.
Community is definitely important. One of the sayings is, you can go fast by yourself, but you can go farther with other people. So that is very true when we're talking about community. And for even in each of you all spaces too, I can see that.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. The community aspect, I think, is super important. I'm a huge proponent of, going to social networking events. You really never know who you're going to meet. But on top of that, staying ready so you don't have to get ready. I think when I would hear that, like being told, like, I don't know, it can kind of go over your head, but opportunities present themselves all the time, and the people that we deem as lucky are just prepared when those opportunities present themselves. So, having your resume ready, knowing what you're interested in, and maybe not necessarily being tied to the title of something, but knowing what you want the role to do. So, if you enjoy, being in like the agile space, I feel like some of us have talked about that, like our roles don't necessarily have Scrum Master tied to it or agile tied to it, but like we are doing or using, those principles. So really trying your best to like look through job descriptions that maybe it doesn't have necessarily that specific title, but you know that you actually can use your transferable skills to be able to accomplish it. And try your best to stay positive. I recognize it's very discouraging. And I do think it's important to give yourself the space to be discouraged at times. But again, back to Aaron's point, having the community around you to uplift you during those periods will always be positive.
Very true. Good stuff. Abdi, do you have anything
I got nothing.
you want to
They
add?
knocked it out the park. They knocked it out the park. I got nothing for y'all. And they're live right now. It's done. They gave you the game.
Home runs,
Y'all,
baby,
y'all,
home
y'all rock.
runs.
I told the audience this is the Rockstar
Yeah.
team right here. Yeah, this is the Rockstar group.
Yeah.
So even to add to that question that Bruce had asked, we're looking a lot of, they're saying men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? And we can see based on the uncertainty of the market, people are getting laid off, or it's just even people who are employed are finding it hard to go and venture out to gain another position. How do you think, in addition to that, and I know people run out and getting certifications, you put on your app, you put out applications, you're updating your resumes. How do you think also with the changes, also with like laws like DEI and all that, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I can go ahead and share my perspective on that. Without getting too political, right?
Mhm. Yeah, not too
yeah,
political, just in general.
yeah. Here's who I voted for. No, I'm just joking. Um, but yeah, at a high level, definitely things are different. Things are different.
Right.
It's very, very different because you know you have you have every business who champion diversity, equity, and inclusion. Almost every business, not all, but almost every business that champion diversity, equity, inclusion. They created employee resource groups. And for those who don't know, employee resource groups are organizations within large companies to ensure that employees have the best onboarding experience, but overall experience in their during their roles at that specific company. I think employee resource groups are great.
Mhm.
And I believe they were effective and they create a sense of belonging for all people from all walks of life. We're talking veterans, persons with disabilities, communities, where folks from the Middle Eastern community, Black community, you name it, right? So there were a lot of
Mhm.
different communities, employee resource groups that exist. It wasn't just exclusive to race. And I do believe
Right.
that because of the current administration and their approach to this, you know, um, they pretty much told most companies that, hey, if you continue to do this type of thing, we'll throw the litigation on you, or we'll stop funding whatever efforts that you might have, right? So I think, yeah, I think it's definitely different. I think employee resource groups did play a pivotal role, in which employee resource groups sometimes they would partner with HR to go to these conferences, for these hiring events to ensure that the pipelines were quote unquote diverse, and it's unfortunate because you have companies, well established, leaders who are saying that, hey, we don't have talent coming from these communities. There's not enough talent. Well, the talent's there, right? The talent's there.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, because of the hit on employee resource groups, D&I initiatives, it definitely makes things more difficult. We're seeing less companies go out to these different conferences at these quote unquote conferences where that champion diversity, equity, inclusion. We're seeing less companies go to those. We're seeing less companies. You'll have companies that go who won't hire as well.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunately that's the reality we live in now, and it's definitely a lot tighter, and a lot of that has to do with the current administration and their approach, and less to do with how competent you are as a business owner, as an individual. um, Definitely, I believe in the philosophy of ownership, taking ownership for where you're at and doing the best you can. But just remember that there are stuff outside of your control. You know that quite frankly you can't do nothing about it. Like there was the company I work for. We had a veterans conference for military veterans for an employee resource group that was dedicated to veterans. That got canceled, right?
Mm.
That got canceled.
Mhm.
And that's just one of the many things that was discontinued, and there's many other things that are being discontinued, as we see today. But at a high level, I do want to share that
Yeah.
it is a lot more difficult than usual. How difficult? Well, we haven't seen something this difficult in a long time, like a long time. It's been a long time since the market has been this turbulent, where you see practitioners with over 20 years of experience struggling to get back in. So yeah,
Thank you.
don't beat yourself up too much is what I'm saying.
Yes, and I was just going to say that I love how you brought the education, in DEI, because I intentionally asked that question because I know there's viewers from literally every pocket of those groups, right?
Yeah.
Who might be wondering, what's going on, and I just wanted to reassure, based on what everyone has saying, to still be encouraged, right? So this conversation doesn't necessarily have to be, if you look like me, it applies to you. This is for everyone. So
Mhm.
thank you for educating those who are tuning in on that as well.
I wanted to add something else too that I think is really important, especially with the current administration. I think it's going to be even more important to support organizations that are actively making the community, that are actively creating the spaces for people to meet in person. I think in the next, not even necessarily just 4 years, but just in the future moving forward, we already knew that the importance of like networking and things like that, but like it's really important who you know. because, you can continue applying and applying and applying. You meet one person that works at the actual organization, you strike up a conversation, you have a good, relationship or rapport with them, and they can immediately expedite, your resume, or at least get you that initial phone screening. So like, that's why I'm super excited that although Agile Brunch is postponed, the fact that it's postponed is like a really good thing that we should be rejoicing as opposed to canceled, because, Lincoln Power is doing the work to be able to create the space for us to be able to come together. Organizations like my own STEM Social, we're actively trying to create the space that people can meet one another, to be able to hopefully create that rapport. So hopefully either that'll translate to, helping people get back into the workforce, or helping people learn how to get promoted, or so on and so forth. But I really do think that I'll say in the foreseeable future, it'll be very important to prioritize in-person connections as much as you can. I personally am also a LinkedIn warrior, so of course using LinkedIn or other, professional development, social medias and things too. But people can't help you if you don't tell them, what you need from them. So again, I do want to give a shout out to Lincoln Power for just all of that you've done, and very excited to see what Agile Brunch looks like, later this year.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bruce, did you have another question before we transition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we kind of reached out to each one of you, and we kind of posed the question like, hey, would you be willing to speak at Agile Brunch? So I think it would be interesting to hear, kind of, from each of you, what made you say yes? Because something had to align for that. So I definitely like to hear what made you say yes.
It's a good question.
Y'all are Black. Like, let's just, all the elephant in the room. I'm just playing. No, but, I mean, but so I think, just for me personally, I think the communal aspect, I think you guys are very warm and welcoming, but also you're doing the work, right? You're not just talking about it, but you're actually practicing what you preach, which is really cool. So I'm like, you have some companies like, they sound great marketing wise. The reels are popping, the views, the comments, but sometimes they're not doing the work like they should. So that's something I definitely respected. And yeah, when I was asked, or the opportunity presented itself to potentially host, I'm like, man, wow, this is, God, looking out again, tying my past into the future, with something that I absolutely love, being a scrum master, being in the agile space. And I'm like, hey, let's make it happen. So it was honestly like two birds with one stone for me. So definitely grateful to be here.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And I must add, if I'm not mistaken, that the alignment came because you were at an event, right? Speaking to what
Yes,
Camille
yeah.
has shared, right? You went outside, you went outside,
Absolutely.
and
We
you
outside,
connected.
Mhm.
So good stuff. Thank you.
I know for me, I've been following Lincoln Power and Nimi for a minute. When I first got into Scrum, I know, what was it? Clubhouse was a big thing, and everybody was on Clubhouse. So, me being new to the Scrum world, you listen for people who kind of think like you. One thing for sure, you look for people that look like you. But then when you get into that platform, it's all about the people who think like you, and you can hear some people that have different types of opinions and different ways and go about doing things. Not saying anything is wrong or right, but you feel who your people are, and it's always been a lot of alignment with this company from the jump for me personally. And then when I've always wanted to get to a Lincoln Powered event, and that was always on my calendar. It was always circled. It was always a thing, because I do also value getting to know your people face to face and getting to meet people. And then also, in my time working with Scrum Alliance, kind of looking behind the curtain of what a lot of these companies do to bring voices to the table. There's not enough Black voices at the table at a lot of these events. They're doing better, they're doing more than they were before, but there's a lot more that can be done, and there's voices that need to be heard. And I think a lot of the people that are intertwined with this company, y'all voices need to be heard a lot more. And it was just an amazing thing to be able to get honored for an award from y'all. It's just alignment on top of alignment on top of alignment. It was really, really great, especially the timing as well. And why not? Why would you say no to this? Like, come on. You get a chance to be around your people, be able to talk and give back and just pour back into the community. That's what we're all here for. And you always want to be the person that you needed when you were there too. So it's a great opportunity for all of us. And it's a great opportunity for everybody that's trying to go. And why would I say no to this? Come on now.
Well, thanks for sharing.
While we're waiting, I guess Chidma, I'm gonna switch this question. You get a question now.
Oh goodness.
What's your why? Like, we've kind of, because your alignment was a little different, you coming in and then, getting involved in Lincoln Power. So definitely interested to hear your why.
Oh, wow. Well, my why is literally came to fruition. I'm on this call with all of you, all of you Agilists. For me, my why was I wanted to get into a space where I had, as a program manager, I had non-technical, experience, right? I'm tech savvy, but I wasn't in a more technical space. But I also realized that I needed to find community with more like-minded individuals. Being melanated, that helps, as well as, you all were saying before, but it was just a sense of community and also constantly having to be stretched, to be pushed, to be also nurtured in a way too, right? Because sometimes when you're going to seek community, it's not always about, hey, I want to gain new skills. There's also, you know what, I want to be embraced too for my unique talents, my unique skill sets, and what I can also help and bring. Because for me, I am about impact. It's not just doing a thing, right? It's becoming a thing too, right? So just being a part of what Lincoln Power has been having in store was the one word I could think about was I knew that it was going to be something that's transformative. And to be honest, I knew completely nothing about Lincoln Power. Just to give you a quick story about me related to that. I just, again, to the point of what we've been talking about, just networking and just going to networking events. I happened to just see something on social media about volunteering, right? So that was how that started. Volunteered at events, knew nobody in the room, literally no one, right? And so did that and also saw the accelerator program. Now I'm an experienced professional, but I'm not too big to say, you know what, let me go and see test this out, see what's going on here, right? And then also be in a position, with experience to help others too, to see some of the things that I've experienced and I've seen within the corporate workspace, but then also to learn from others as well. So for me, it was really having that more of a transformative experience, being in community, just continue to learn and grow. And like you all said, for those with education background, you'll be forever a student. And that's always me, right? Just constantly wanting to learn and grow. So that's my story of why I'm here.
All right. Camille?
Yeah, I think for me, again, I've referenced, I think community is so incredibly important. And it's kind of like a real recognizes real. Like I have been actively trying to find people that are like-minded to me and seeing Mimi online and seeing what she's been able to build and just Lincoln Power has been able to build over the past few years. There was, no reason not to participate. And I remember I had a really, really good call with Mimi, I want to say a few months ago at this point. But I left the call feeling just very rejuvenated and just very excited to be able to collaborate and just be able to be welcomed into the community. and be able to build together. So my why is just a function of anytime that I can find a group of like-minded people, especially that look like me, I'm always going to be a part of it. And I'm just very excited to continue, being a part of that and building with y'all.
Awesome. Thank Abby.
Yeah, so getting involved with Agile and Brunch, I mean, for me, like most of the folks shared, it's a no-brainer, especially, given the fact that this is one of the few organizations that are actually, doing the work and getting folks referrals, jobs, education opportunities, a sense of community, a sense of belonging, in a space that, traditionally growing up, like we didn't see a lot of folks that look like us in tech and actually be considered cool, right? I mean, being a nerd long ago wasn't really a thing. Like if you were a nerd, you weren't the cool kid. Now, if you're a nerd today, you're a winner. You're a winner. You're winning. And and I think I think for me, I met the founder Nimi early last year at another networking event in Atlanta. We instantly connected, and we've kept in touch. I went to Agile Brunch last year, and I came as an attendee, and I enjoyed the panel. I enjoyed the people that I met there. I go to quite a few conferences, and I gotta say that you know what I like about Agile and Brunch is that it's smaller, and I think that's a good thing because it allows me to sit down, sip my tea and enjoy conversation with people. Whereas you go to a very large conference, right? You get a few seconds with one person, you're on to the next person, right? You're hustling and bustling, getting to the next session, and it's a lot more rapid. Whereas Agile and Brunch is a bit more intimate. I see that Nimi's making her commentary. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
No, you guys,
Drop the mixtape. Let it out.
No. And before Chidma can ask me, because I know she's probably like, "Oh, what is your why?" But I'm going to get ahead
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So, I think for me, it is definitely a sense of community. I came, my background was in restaurant management. Even in what I did with a large restaurant company, there weren't very many of us, that looked like me in that position. And then, going into financial services and banking, I was the only one serving as like the project manager. So I kind of crossed paths with Nimi during the Clubhouse era as well. That was back in the day when they had all the tech, the recruiting rooms, and you'd go in there for like 8 hours a day, and then they would go in there and they would just give it a dollar. But yeah, so fast forward till now, pretty much, it was building something here that's going to help build a community, but it's also giving back to others. And it's going to, kind of help shape that. And we're really trying to mold the future and kind of grow, build that out there. So that's kind of my why. Uh, Pretty much if Nimi probably has an idea, even if it may not work, I'm probably going to say, yeah. We're like, let's try it. Let's go. Because the worst we could do is, not try it. That's the worst that could happen, but it can be successful. But that's pretty much my why is, believing in the vision that Lincoln Power has, believing in, the mission of Agile and Brunch. So that's my why.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Well, Chip, I'll throw it back over to you. It looks like we're right almost, that's about 45 after. So
Okay. So let me see if Marilyn is back there with the next slide. I mean, I personally, I do want to say that I am very humbly and appreciative of all of you with your insights and everything that you're doing. And I highly suggest the viewers that are listening to just run, don't walk, and make sure that you are following them on all of their social media platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever else that they're on. So I definitely want to say thank you, for everything that you all are doing within your communities, within your networks, and the things that have not come to fruition just yet. So definitely excited to see that and also be a part of that as well. So let me see if switch over to the next slide here. All right. So
all right.
go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, um, I know we're kind of in that postponement phase for Agile Brunch, but there are still some wonderful opportunities here to kind of, still be involved with, Lincoln Power work attached to things in some capacity. Um, Small Business Link Up is May 14th, which is tomorrow. So this happens every second Wednesday of the month. This is the first month of it, but um, so you can get your tickets on our website, lincolnpower.com. Under our events tab, you'll see all upcoming events that are upcoming, anything that Lincoln Power may be associated to. But this is a good opportunity if you are in the Atlanta area, or hey, if you want to travel to the Atlanta area, that might be an option too. But definitely, more so in the Atlanta areas where this event is happening at. Also, our fearless founder, Nimi, who's, in the audience, she will be speaking at this year's Online Scrum Master Summit. So, good thing is there is a session toward the tickets, that online event. They have online sessions that are actually free. So, it's a virtual event for 3 days, June 17th through the 19th. So you can actually click that QR code. It'll take you to our upcoming events page. And from there, you can register as well. It has an RSVP link. You can register, and it's pretty quick. It'll give you the information, but Mimi will be speaking at that conference. So that's another opportunity, just to see, stay in contact with Lincoln Power, see what all we have going on while we anticipate the announcement for the Agile Brunch. And then, we should have some more upcoming events that we are hoping to put out there. So really just make sure you're staying in contact with us out there to make sure you know where Lincoln Power is going to be putting on. And as we wrap up, I, do want to make sure, we take a moment and thank our wonderful panel. We had to, deliver the news, but they, were still willing to rock with us and kind of, continue the path forward, which means, they believe in the vision. So thank you so much for, willing to give your time back and willing to, do this with us. And, again, there was a QR page that we have as well. So that has all of our links, important links. You can follow us, Instagram, LinkedIn, connect with us. Be sure you connect with each of the panelists that are on stage. And we hope to see you at future Tech Tuesday events.
Yes. And I also want to make sure that we acknowledge all of the accelerators who have assisted in putting this together, who's been through the journey as well. If they can come up on stage. Marilyn, are you on there? Okay.
All right. Yeah, I think we have Zanai. I think Marilyn's up, isn't she? Sanique, yeah.
Shanique, yeah.
Thanks. What's happening, folks?
So these, just to give a shout out to them, I'll let Chidma give the shout out because she's our Scrum Master. So
Yes, we have Miss Shanique. Go ahead, Shanique. Introduce yourself real quick and your role within the program.
Hey everyone, happy Tech Tuesday. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Shanique Williams. I am the event planning coordinator with the One Path Accelerator program with Lincoln Power. Really enjoy the conversation, super insightful, and I'm so glad I was able to be a part of it. So thank you guys for joining. And I'm definitely looking for Agile and Brunch later this year.
Zanai.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Zanai. I'm the digital marketing specialist for the One Path Accelerator program. I'm so excited that I got to hear from you guys all today. I've helped create the graphics for you guys, so it was actually really nice hearing you guys speak for the first time. It was just very informational. I loved everything that was said, so I'm very happy that I got to hear you guys speak today.
Thanks, Zanai. Last but definitely not least,
everyone. I am Marilyn Gifford. I'm the operations lead. Here's a face to the voice and the name. I'm super excited to be here and see kind of the fruition of our work and just the true test of being future agilists and how we've had to learn to pivot through this program. So super excited to take what I've learned moving forward and get to see you guys at the next Agile and Brunch event, as well as any upcoming things that Lincoln Power has going on. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah. We could not do any of what we've done without them. Like, they have been instrumental on the back end, from graphics to coordination to working with vendors. So they've all played a role in kind of what this looks like. They also got the news and they had to learn to be agile. Many of them do not work in the agile space, and I, as a student, so this is just giving them true agility, in real life. Thank y'all all for everything that you do. We really appreciate it, and does not go unnoticed.
Thank you.
All right. Well, awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us for this Tech Tuesday. We hope to see you all at future Tech Tuesday events, and just stay tuned as we will be giving, just future announcements of where Agile and Brunch will be. Thanks everybody.
Peace, y'all.